everybody, and welcome to AMC Movie Talk for movie fans. I'm your host, Sinead DeFries, and this is the daily show where we bring you the latest news from the world of movies, plus some insight into what it all means. Joining us, as always, is your editor-in-chief for AMC Movie News, John Campea.
Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, coming to you live from right here at the AMC Movie News headquarters here in Burbank, California, and I love Neil Blomkamp.
Also here is AMC production manager Dennis Zen.
Hey guys, I read that Kevin James is going to be the new Wolverine. I read it, today, so it must be true, right?
It must be true if it was on the internet.
Yes.
Absolutely, and also here AMC's Christian Harloff.
I am also a fan of Neil Blomkamp.
That was really Russian.
I don't know. Listen, I'm not South African, but I'm trying, okay?
We'll work on it, okay?
Please,
I promise. All right, so according to Collider, WB has set a release date for their first official teaser trailer for their upcoming film, Batman v Superman. According to the report, a trailer for the film will be attached to all prints of Mad Max Fury Road when it hits AMC theaters on May 15th. Batman v Superman is scheduled to hit AMC theaters on March 25th next year. John, do you believe this report? And if so, would this be a good move?
This is one of the more weird ones. But yes, I do actually believe this report. I remember when that whole stuff came out about Jupiter Ascending. I said, yeah, I mean, it makes sense. It's a big WB film, but I felt it was still too early, and it turns out that was bogus. And everybody said, oh, it's coming out with The Hobbit, but that obviously turned out to be bogus. And this could absolutely end up being bogus as well. But that being said, I kind of actually do believe the validity of this one. This is going to be a big tentpole film, Mad Max Fury Road, for Warner Brothers. So it makes sense to put it with it. We're also now inside that 1 year window. At this point, we're going to be 10 months away from the release of Batman vs. Superman, which I still kind of feel is a bit too early, but not ridiculously early. So especially since we're talking about it being a teaser. It also makes sense to do it on that side of Avengers Age of Ultron. Because some people were already tweeting to me this morning, if the trailer's ready, why don't you just put it out now, release it now? Well, because, these studios spend tens and tens and tens of millions of dollars on these marketing campaigns, and you want to get your biggest bang for your buck out of them. You release a Batman versus Superman trailer in the next 3 weeks, whatever, what you run the risk of is some of its thunder is going to be stolen by the release of Avengers Age of Ultron. Because the actual movie coming out trumps trailer coming out any day of the week. And so if you want to get the most bang for your buck, let Avengers come out first. Let it be in theaters for a week or two, then drop the trailer, have nothing else in sight that's going to steal the thunder from your trailer being released. You get your maximum legs out of it so people can talk about it as much as they want, as long as they want. And so all around, while I'm still not 100% sure this is true, I believe it's true, and it does make sense to me logically and logistically. So anyway, Christian, what do you think?
I believe it as well, and for a lot of the same reasons that you just said, but also WB needs to make a bit of a stamp here. They have to promote this movie. People are still talking about it because it's Batman v Superman. They will continue to talk about it, but show us a little bit. And you said maybe it's still a little farther out. Remember that Star Wars it released it in November, just about a little over a year, just a teaser for it. Then you have Avengers, the movie coming out, but I still think that Star Wars trailer is going to be dropped, if not at Celebration, right before Avengers. So you're not only going to have the Avengers everyone's talking about, then you're going to have Star Wars that everyone's talking about. So stay away from that. And then as you get closer to Mad Max, which is a WB film, makes sense, and it's in the heart of summer season. That's why I don't think Jupiter Ascending made sense, because it was February. Hobbit, it probably wasn't ready yet, and not that it would be wasted at that time, but that may be just a little too far out in December. Yeah. So by putting it in the heart of summer, right in May, right before Mad Max, which is a movie that that people are buzzing about that trailer, buzzing about that movie, I think it makes sense, and I think that is probably true.
Dennis.
I believe it as well. And it's also a smart move for them because while, when we did our top and most anticipated movies of 2015, I had Mad Max as my number 3 behind Star Wars and Avengers Age of Ultron. I liked the first Mad Max original one. I loved Road Warrior. But we have to remember, today's current movie-going audience, they don't have, I don't think, the same love that most of us have for the Mad Max franchise. A lot of them probably haven't even seen it. They probably have heard of it. They know that Mel Gibson was in it. So I think placing a trailer like Batman v Superman right before it is a great way to like push something that would be a hit. We probably think it's going to be a hit, but maybe it's going to push it over. Right. Maybe it's going to be even a much bigger monster hit than it originally they were planned for. So
it's like a special appetizer, like a really good appetizer, and then you get a surprise meal that's delicious.
But here's the real genius of it. It's like I think gone are the days that people will run out and buy a ticket to a movie just because a certain trailer is playing in front of it, primarily because, they know they're going to be able to catch it online probably the day before anyway. But the genius of this, if this is what WB is doing, is that guess what movie we're talking about today that we wouldn't be talking about today if it wasn't for an announcement of this trailer? Mad Max Fury Road. We're talking about that movie again, and therein lies the genius of attaching a trailer to it these days.
And I think that probably, I bet you they talked about Jupiter Ascending. I bet you that's why those reports came out, and then they said, let's not waste it on this. But I think you should put it, no, don't put it there. You should put it before Mad Max because, like I said, people are talking about that trailer, and like you said, now we're talking about it right now. Mad Max is their summer juice right off to start because they don't have a DC movie right now. So, and I also agree, Dennis, that one of the reasons, yes, they go there for the internet. You can watch the trailer, but if you can watch Batman v Superman, be it a minute trailer on the big screen to see what you're going to get in March, that would get me excited.
Oh yeah, but we're losers.
We are
losers. Yeah, we're the losers who will do that.
We're losers.
All right, what's next?
According to reports, TV's Arrow star Stephen Amell has landed the role of Casey Jones in the upcoming sequel to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Casey is a hockey mask-wearing vigilante who eventually becomes an ally of the Turtles and a love interest for April O'Neil. Dennis, what do you think about Stephen Amell as Casey Jones?
I think it could be a good fit. When I heard it yesterday, it wasn't one of those things where I was like, oh my God, he's a perfect fit. Or this is so terrible, mankind should weep type of casting, which, some people do. That's like Ben Affleck.
Mankind
like people
should weep.
But I think from what I've seen of Stephen Amell, I've seen the first half of the first season of Arrow. So I don't know how dark his character actually gets because Casey Jones kind of has an edge to him. He's kind of cocky. He's kind of, more along the lines of Raphael of the TMNT. And so I haven't really seen that from Stephen Amell yet, but maybe it's because I haven't watched further enough in Arrow. But I think he could be a good fit. I think he has the look for it. He is much more of a pretty boy than, what was his name? Elias Cotier, the guy who played him in the first one. I always call him like fake Robert De Niro because he kind of looks like him. But he was more of like, kind of a edgier guy. Stephen Amell's more of a pretty boy, but I think he could pull it off.
Christian?
Yeah, I think so too. There was a show on HBO that went for like 2 or 3 seasons with Thomas Jane Hung, and Steve. That was the first time I ever saw Stephen Amell. He actually does have that side. Okay. He's able to do that sarcastic. He played like a con man in the beginning of it, and so I would like to see him play Casey Jones. I think that he could. I saw some people upset about it, and then I saw the people who were embracing it. I have watched 1 episode of Arrow, so I haven't seen a lot of him, but I know that he's got charisma. I think that I didn't love the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, and I think by adding someone with his charisma, and he's got to make Megan Fox better, for God's sake. So let's see what happens.
Oh, so you didn't like the one that just came out, or you're talking about the first original?
Oh, I love the original.
Okay.
Of course.
Yeah.
The 1990 version? Yeah, I loved that one. TMNT Power.
Yeah, I'm one of these guys that I was so surprised that I liked the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I thought, I trash-talked that movie for like 6 months before it came out, and then I walked in. That's why you got to keep an open mind when you go into these films. Like, I trash-talk because it did look bad. It did look bad. I still stand by the fact that it looked bad. But I went in and it was pretty good. I liked it. I had a good time with it, Megan Fox notwithstanding. I'm in a weird position with this story because I know Stephen Amell. And I was a big fan of Arrow. I don't know how good friends Stephen Amell and I are now because I gave up on his show because it totally went to garbage. I loved the first 2 seasons of Arrow. And then I gave up on it about halfway through season 3. It just kind of went in a totally ridiculous direction. The writers kind of lost their way and it became a rather bad show. That being said, one of the things reasons I got mad about Arrow becoming a bad TV show was because I think Stephen Amell is so good. And especially when you watch him in the first season of Arrow, you see a guy this is his first time trying to carry, whether it's a movie or a TV show, on his shoulders as the lead guy, and it showed. But by the end of season 1, it's like, this guy's getting actually quite good. And then by the time you get into the end of season 2, it's like, this guy has completely now evolved where, to a lot of people out there, he is Green Arrow. I mean, he's that good, and he does have that side. I know you haven't seen season 2, but he does have that dark side. He has that edge. He has all that type of stuff that you need. He's also got the physique, and he's got all that kind of stuff. And I believe as an actor, he's a guy who just got better and better and better and better. And I was worried as a fan of Stephen Amell that show had gotten so bad it was going to like completely submarine any chance he had of having a career outside of it. And so I was really, really, really excited to see that he got this role, because even though I gave up on Arrow, I am a massive fan of Stephen Amell. I think he's evolving into a great actor, and I think this is a great role for him. So for me, I'm just really excited about it.
Do you think this could be like a breakout role for him for movies?
It's
an iconic role. I mean, at least amongst the teenage
for amongst the turds, amongst the nerds.
Yeah, there are a lot of turds.
Amongst those of us who are nerds, it could be. I mean, look, if he nails it and completely nails it and gives us a memorable character, because there were no memorable human characters in the first Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. As much as I like the movie, there were no memorable human characters in that. If he could become a memorable character, really own it, and win people over with it, then I believe we're just getting started with Stephen Amell being an on-screen action star. I really, really do. I think he's that level. Like, is he a Christian Bale? No, not yet. But I think he could be.
We could also get something special from this second movie. This second movie, like, even though I didn't like the first one, could evolve into something special, because they replaced the director. David Green is a guy with Earth to Echo, and now having his hand in this beloved franchise. If he also has a lot to prove here. So
he
with
really
him
does.
And Amell together, they could revamp Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles into something that not only some people had fun with, but some people who didn't like the movie would meet on the same page and go, look, you might have loved the first one, I might have hated it, but we can both agree that second one was a lot more fun and more special than the first. Okay, that's what I'm hoping for.
They'll make it just for you.
That's what I hope.
Just for you.
Just for me. That's all I need him to do. That's it.
All right, folks, we reached that part of the show for buy or sell. Here's how this works. In front of her, Sinead's got a few other items in the world of movie news. She's going to run them down. And then those of us at the table are simply going to say whether we buy it or sell it. So, Sinead, what do we got?
Deadline is reporting that Wolverine actor Hugh Jackman has signed on for the lead role in the upcoming faith-based film Apostle Paul, being produced by Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. Apostle Paul follows the story of a man who hunted and imprisoned Christians in the early days of the Christian faith, who then later converted and wrote much of the New Testament. John, buy or sell Hugh Jackman joining Apostle Paul?
Huge buy, and here's why. This is a dude who is diversifying himself like crazy. A lot of people forget, when he burst onto the scene, this was a stage actor. You know, when he came out as Wolverine, is like, anybody who did know who Hugh Jackman was, which was almost nobody, they're like, the musical guy who does these Broadway types things. And what he has never done, while he has continued to be Wolverine, he has never allowed himself to become boxed into Wolverine by going out and playing tons of different types of characters, tons of different types of personalities, and keep diversifying. So even going back and being in Les Mis, which I thought he did get an Academy Award nomination for that, right? If he didn't, he totally should have. I think he should have. But anyway, he was magnificent in that. We see him now, he's going to be a villain in the new Peter Pan kind of film, and now doing something like this. Like, what I love about Hugh Jackman is that he's constantly expanding himself, or at least expanding our understanding of him. And the fact that he takes such diverse types of projects, such diverse types of roles, this is a great move for him, especially now that we know that he's wrapping up his Wolverine career. For me, it's a huge buy. Dennis?
I buy it as well. I'm a fan of Hugh Jackman, and you're right. Seeing him in different roles is, I think, a good thing for him. That way, he doesn't get typecasted as just the Wolverine, which can happen to actors. You're like, if you play a certain character, you know, what was Daniel Radcliffe as Harry Potter? You just think of him. But not only that, I'm not a religious person, so I'm not familiar with the story. But just reading the little synopsis, I'm kind of interested, because I'm always interested in characters that have a sudden turn. That turn suddenly from like one way and 180 degrees, because in most real life, right, most people change, but they change very gradually. So for something to happen to him, which I guess he like sees Jesus or something like that, to change him, I want to see how that develops.
Married men change. The two of us that can tell you, married men change. All right, anyway.
I also buy it, and it sounds to me like Les Mis meets Exodus is what it sounds like. In one role that he played already, and then from Moses seeing the burning bush and all that stuff. But yeah, and the team up really makes sense. But going off of your guys' point, is he's a chameleon, man. This dude, like, since the beginning, he's smart, and he has the chops. When you have those, and when you have those talents, that you can say, right off the bat, like with being Wolverine, going, all right, I know that I don't want to just be, I love playing Wolverine, but I also know that I can do that. I can sing, I can do, and he uses all of his talents. So you don't just say, hey, that's Wolverine. Yes, the jokes come, it's like, hey, look, Wolverine's singing and dancing, and that will always happen. But when you're watching him in the movie, you're lost in his characters. And that is what he does so well, from everything, from the fountain to whatever he does. He's in it, and he can do those commercial films, he can do the small ones, and to team up with the Ben Affleck team, yeah, I'm all for it. It's a big buy for me.
All right, what's next?
Actor, okay, bear with me
Good
here.
luck.
Thank you.
Bloomcamp.
Adewale Akinnuoye-Agbaje, best known for his TV roles in shows like Oz and Lost, and who recently appeared in Thor: The Dark World, has reportedly just landed the role of Killer Croc in the upcoming DC film Suicide Squad. Waylon Jones Croc's real name was born with a medical condition that likens his appearance to a crocodile as he ages. Killer Croc is a frequent villain in the Batman comics. Christian, buy or sell Agbaje joining Suicide Squad as Killer Croc?
Buy it, and I don't need a receipt. This is a big one. I love this dude, and I always remember him as Otta BC from Oz. With that.
I know,
I
right?
want Killer
The
Croc
little
to wear
thing
that
on his
hat. I want him to wear that hat. And he was great as Mr. Echo. He brings a level of intensity to everything that he does.
Yeah.
And we were just talking about Stephen Amell with charisma. This dude has charisma, and he's terrifying when he wants to be. He can also pour it on to be. He can do that switch. It's very hard to play terrifying, but do the switch and. Wait, there's kindness there, because as Mr. Echo, he did that. Like, there were times in Lost, like there were times that he could play that menacing, but then you saw his backstory and you saw why he was that way, and there was depth to him. And I don't necessarily know a lot about the mythology of Croc, but it means he's going to play a villain again. Yeah, I'm all aboard. I love this dude.
Yeah, huge buy for me. Adewale is one of these guys where there's like 7, 8, 9, 10 guys right now in the business where, look, we just need somebody who instantly, once they're on screen, portrays power.
Yeah.
He's one of them. I mean, he's great. Every time he's popped up in any of his shows or any movie, like, and he's instantly recognizable too, even though he doesn't look like himself, as normal in Thor: The Dark World. You instantly know it's him. And so you bring a character like that in. I also think the addition of Killer Croc into the Suicide Squad movie is a very interesting development. Once we're getting into something now that's more than natural. I don't know that we're not going to call Killer Croc supernatural per se, but they ain't normal what Killer Croc is. So they're going to introduce that type of stuff into this world as well. I think that's really fascinating. So all the way around for me, this is a buy.
I buy it as well. I won't attempt his name, but I'll call him Mr. Echo from Lost because that's what I know him as. But I'm with you in terms of Killer Croc's placement in the Suicide Squad, because it is more of the supernatural, fantastical, where, we've heard all these rumors that the DC cinematic universe is supposed to be realistic, right? And have a darker, realistic tone, and I don't know how that plays into it. The only concern I have is that it may come off as remember Manu Bennett was in The Hobbit as Azog?
Yeah.
I'm worried that you're gonna lose the actor in you won't be able to recognize him at all, and not even notice that he's there.
That's a possibility too. And I think with the fact that they've already said that Wonder Woman is going to be the daughter of Zeus.
Yeah.
And so I think they've kind of thrown the chains off a little bit.
Yeah, well,
as far
Superman was an alien. So
Superman's an alien.
Aliens are real, Christian.
It's true. You make a valid point.
All right, what's next?
Fox Studios has just released a new official poster for their upcoming remake of the classic 1982 horror film Poltergeist, featuring the classic clown doll. The new Poltergeist stars Sam Rockwell, Rosemary DeWitt, and Jared Harris, and opens in AMC theaters on May 22nd. Dennis, buy or sell this new poster for Poltergeist?
I buy it. It's super creepy. I think if we sent this to Amy Rose, if Amy Rose saw it,
That's the first thing I thought of, man. I want to send this to Amy Rose so bad.
She'll freak out. Yeah, it's really creepy. And Poltergeist is a movie, I've always said this before, I'm not a huge horror fan, but I'm really looking forward to this movie because of the cast, Sam Rockwell and everyone else, and just the tone of it. It just doesn't seem like a blood and guts type of horror movie. It's a more psychological thriller type. So, I think this poster, it gives me the creeps and I want to see it.
Normally when I see posters, I would like posters to kind of give you a snapshot into the movie, give you an idea about the essence of the film with one shot. This poster doesn't really do that, but I still have to buy it because you're right. It's clowns don't scare me. This creeps the hell out of me. Yeah. I mean, that is awesome. That is so well put together.
Great jacket.
And I really do want to send that to Amy Rose. I want to send that to her so badly. But I'm also looking forward. Look, there are remakes where I'll often say with certain remakes, look, give us your take on this. Give us your spin, whoever the filmmakers or the studio. Give us your spin on this. Make it your own. Take this original material and make it your own. Put your stamp on it. But then there are some remakes that you get the feeling they're going to go for almost like a shot for shot, like a real, true, faithful retelling. And I feel like that's what they're doing with this Poltergeist. And with Poltergeist, I like that. I really enjoyed the first trailer they put out. I love the fact that Sam Rockwell, I think Rockwell's going to crush this. So, but getting just back to the poster, I look at it, it's memorable, it grabs my attention, it creeps me out. I got to give it a buy.
Yeah, I buy it as well. Not only is it creepy, what it does is that it plays on nostalgia. Because we always forget, because we're in the space so much, we are very aware that there's a Poltergeist remake. There are a lot of people that aren't, that are fans of the first one, and then they'll see that and they'll go, oh, this clown, it kind of reminds me, wait, they're doing a Poltergeist remake? That's great. I saw this creepy clown and it made me, it pops. If you see that poster, you stop and you go, that's creepy. And then you see Poltergeist, it does its job. And one of the creepiest moments in the original is that clown and the tree. Yeah. The clown and the tree are the two scariest parts of that movie.
Groot.
And
the early years.
Yes, exactly. As his dad. And they show all of that in the trailer, and they play off the nostalgia, like you said, for an honest remake of it. The last trailer didn't necessarily do it for me, but I'm very curious to how they're going to do it. It doesn't have Spielberg's influence the way that the first one did. And I thought that because I agree with you, Dennis, I think that the first one really played out more psychological than anything else. And that you felt because of Spielberg, because they still say Spielberg directed that one. But the poster in general looks great. It's playing off the creepiness and nostalgia, so it's a buy.
Sinead, is this something you'd hang in your room?
No, never.
Oh, okay. All right, folks, we've reached that part of the show for Mailbag. Listen, if you've got a question or a topic you'd like us to address on the show, you can email us anytime at amcmovietalk@gmail.com. Sinead's got a couple of questions pulled out of the mailbag. So, Sinead, what do we have?
Dewone Wimberly writes, hello, guys. I know it's a little early, but with all the record-setting opening weekends we've been having, do you see Star Wars Episode 7 being the highest-grossing movie of the year? Thanks, guys, and congratulations on Phase 3.
Well, thank you very much. And we actually talked about this maybe 5 months ago. This was a big question when we were talking about 2015. My answer has not changed. What will be the best movie of the year? That's still to be seen. We don't know. Star Wars will not be the #1 box office film of the year for one very general principle, two very specific reasons. Number one, this Star Wars is coming off the prequels. It has a little bit of an uphill battle. So while it is still Star Wars, and it is a behemoth of a franchise, and it is going to just juggernaut its way to huge box office numbers. I love the shirt that Christian's wearing today, by the way. If you haven't seen that, it's Boba Fett taking a selfie in front of a carbonated Han Solo, which is awesome. It's going to be huge and everything. On the other side of that coin, though, you have the Avengers, which not only is huge and massive and a behemoth and a juggernaut in its own right as well, it is coming off of a huge, beloved, massive, record-breaking box office film in the first Avengers, not to mention all the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies in between. What was the last one? Guardians of the Galaxy was the last one. So it's just steamrolling, and before that was Captain America, and it was like, it is steamrolling. Now, the better question will be, what's going to be the bigger box office film, Star Wars Episode 9 or the next Avengers film? Because of Star Wars Episode 8, because Star Wars Episode 8 will hopefully be coming off of a kick-ass Star Wars movie in Star Wars Episode 7. Then you're on a little bit more of a fair playing field. So as of right now, as you know, my whole life revolves around Star Wars. Everybody knows that. But I got to say, Avengers Age of Ultron will be the #1 box office film of the year. Star Wars has a little bit of catching up to do, but we'll see what happens with the next incarnation of both of them. Dennis?
I agree with you. I do think both movies are going to be fantastic. I'm just optimistic. I think both of them are going to be amazing. And I do think Avengers is going to make more money because it is coming off of the more beloved, not beloved franchise, but more beloved movie.
Yes.
You know, not just by fans, but critics too.
Yeah.
And then you have, Star Wars coming off the prequels, which, there are some people who like them, but in general, it wasn't very well received. I think critics and fans were a little more ho-hum about it. So and right now, comic book movies are in. Star Wars is a cultural phenomenon, and it's probably going to last like a very, very long time. But for right now, comic book movies are like the thing that everyone is talking about. And I think Avengers, Age of Ultron is just going to kill it.
Kill it?
Yeah.
Really?
What?
Like by a lot?
Oh,
not by a lot. Kill it in...
You're saying kill it like...
As in
you killed
victory.
it.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Christian.
Surprise, surprise, I'm going the other way. And it's not just, of course Christian was going to say that. Hear me out. I think if you're going opening weekend, Ultron wins opening weekend. Like, for as far as you compare the two weekends, and I think Ultron will have the bigger weekend. But don't forget also, I agree, it's going to be a mega hit, and Ultron is. You're going to have, coming off that first movie that people loved and one of the most profitable movies of all time, but it also is in the summer season, and it's going to start to get picked on a little bit here and there as after it has its huge weekends, and with the Ant-Mans and the Mad Max will take little pieces of it. Not substantial damage, but it will eventually, and then it'll tap out. And then you have Hunger Games, the last one that'll probably do fairly well too. I think that was the second winner last year was American Sniper. I think was that number one?
Yes, American Sniper was number one.
And that's my point. American Sniper came out the end of December, and it was there was nothing going up against it in January and February. And Star Wars is going to have that same thing this year. Star Wars is going to come out. It has no competition whatsoever. Oh, Point Break. Sorry, Point Break's going to beat it. And then but you have Star Wars that's going to live in December, then January. And if it's good, the people that were stunk off by the prequels are going to go, I didn't see it because of the prequels. No, dude, you have to see it. JJ got it right. If that conversation happens, it's going to pile up in January and February. So I think that overall it is, and by the way, that also counts for 2015. It's
a whole run.
It's the whole run. So I do think, not by much, but I do think Star Wars will be the big.
Let me change this. Change it on this a little bit. Do you think Avengers: Age of Ultron? There's no right answer to this.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know what your answer is going to be. Do you think Avengers: Age of Ultron will make more or less than the first Avengers movie?
Man, I think more, but more or just around the same, because I think it's going to be a little longer than the first one. But I think a little more.
Okay, so now we're talking domestically. The first Avengers made $623 million at the domestic box office. So let's say Age of Ultron makes 640 for argument's sake. You believe Star Wars Episode 7, you're holding on to this, will make more than $640 million
overall run. Yes,
its overall run. All right, good. I hope you're right.
It's going to be all about repeat viewing.
That's what it is.
It's going to be how good is it that they want to see it again.
But the same applies to the Avengers.
But let me. I'm going to ask you a question. If I gave you $14 to go see a movie, okay, and I'm going to I want you
right now
in January, and I'm going to. So I know you've seen Star Wars twice already in the theater, but I'm gonna that or the other found footage horror movie that's coming out.
Twice.
You've seen it 25 times already. But I'm gonna give you an extra thing. Now you can go and see that brand new found footage horror movie that they're gonna release in January, or some Katherine Heigl romantic comedy they're gonna put in January, or Star Wars again. Here's $15. What are you spending it on?
Well, I'm going to go. It doesn't matter what comes out the following week. I'm going to go see the Star Wars again.
But that's what I mean, though, is that people are going to, if they're going to go to the movies and they want to go to the movies and they haven't seen Star Wars yet, and it's going to live in January. And I saw The Phantom Menace 6 times in the theater, and you saw it like twice that many times.
What's wrong with you guys?
Exactly.
I know.
And even Revenge of the Sith,
18,
I saw
by
more
the way.
times.
I saw Phantom Menace 18 times.
I saw Phantom Menace once in the
That was
theater.
it.
That was enough for me.
I didn't say I was a smart man. I just said I went to see it 18
Nonetheless,
times.
it's going to be a lot of fun to pay attention to.
It will be an awful lot of fun. All right, what's next?
Richard Locke writes, "It's my 6-month anniversary of finding you guys. Love the show.
Yay.
I've heard you talk about R ratings versus PG-13 ratings on several episodes of your show, most recently in regards to Deadpool. You talked about cleaning up the language and violence to bring an R-rated movie down to PG-13. But where is that line? In X-Men, First Class, Wolverine tells Xavier and Lencher to go F yourself, and it was PG-13. So is 1 F-bomb okay, or is 2 the maximum? Can you throw in 1 F-bomb and 1 decapitation? What's the formula?"
There is more art than science to it, although the MPAA does have some general guidelines. I believe currently the guideline as far as language goes is two of the big F-bombs I think you're allowed to drop depending on the context. Even with those, so you are not allowed to say the MF bomb. That is not allowed. That's when you're automatically going into our territory. Nudity is a big thing with that, although as we've seen in the past, there are brief shots, toplessness, whatever, a little butt shot here or there. We're talking about my Instagram account. No, little things like that. If it's done very mildly and non-suggestively, they will sometimes let that slip into. What has become the bigger issue has been what like in my interpretation of it, because like I said, with the MPAA, there's more art to it than science. They feel it out. It's a little bit subjective, which brings into question a lot of issues of fairness that they apply, and they've been accused of not being very fair from time to time, appropriately so. Is gore. You can have Transformers, right? You can have Optimus Prime pull out his huge sword, stab it through the gut of a Decepticon, run it up his body, eventually ripping out his head with his Decepticon spine flying around, blah, blah. PG, no problem. You cannot do that with, a movie with us in it, and Denizen drives a sword through Christian and pulls off his head with a spine and blood splattering. That becomes R. I find that they've become, in the recent 5 years or so, they become much more sensitive to blood and gore than the other stuff. They still have their standards, but that's kind of the way I perceive it. Christian,
yes, but it's crazy, especially in here, nudity and sex is more. It's like there's more things that you can not do with both nudity. You showed 2 nipples, okay, fine. You show 3, NC-17.
I know, it's weird.
It's really strange, but you can. There's so much you can get away with violence, but eventually there's a limit. But as far as language goes, I think it's 2 F-bombs. I think, but yeah, depending on context.
Watch out, Christian, because I'm
coming.
gonna come after you. I read it's 1 or 2 F-bombs, and it's always context. If it's like sexual in nature, that's where they kind of draw the line.
They draw the line.
Then they go to an R rating. But if it's not, and it's more kind of just in the speech of something,
like Wolverine in the bar too.
That's-
Like
yeah.
this is just a joke, whatever.
But I think even older movies, at least in the 80s, I think Big even had an F-bomb, and that was PG, not even PG-13, that was PG. So I think
did Big have an F-bomb in it?
that's what I read.
I'll have to ask Ann. That's her
yeah.
favorite movie of all time.
But I think they're trending more towards, okay, if you do it, it has to be at least PG-13. But you're right about nudity, unless it's like Titanic, where it's like this artistic thing, where it's that type of thing. Then no, they're never gonna have that in there.
All right, folks. Well, we also love to take your questions via Twitter. So if you got a Twitter account, you can hop on, tweet a question out, and use the hashtag AMC Movie Talk. Just put that in your tweet, that hashtag, and it will get to us, and maybe you will see your tweet on our show. So, Sinead, what have people been sending in the Twitter sphere?
At Samuel D. Carrico tweets, is Christian Bale one of the greats? Was watching The Fighter for the first time, and it got me thinking. Thanks.
No. Christian Bale. Now, could Christian Bale be on his way to becoming one of the greats? I will say yes. I will say emphatically yes. But I do not believe he has yet put together the body of work that we can put him in the category of a Daniel Day-Lewis, of an Al Pacino, of a Tom Hanks even. But do I believe he will get there? I would put money on it that he would get there. But would I put him in even like a 10-person Mount Rushmore right now or stuff like that? No, not yet. I don't think he's in that conversation yet. But the dude's young. Let's have that conversation again in a few years, and I think we're going to be singing a different tune. But I don't know, Dennis, would you actually consider Christian Bale right now one of the greats?
I would. I mean, look at his resume: like The Fighter, The Prestige, American Hustle, Out of the Furnace, 3:10 to Yuma, Rescue Dawn, American Psycho, The Machinist. I think he's one of my favorite actors, and I think he just inhabits every role that he takes. Yeah. So for me personally, he's one of the greats.
Christian,
I think he's one of the greats as well. I wouldn't necessarily put him on the Mount Rushmore yet because of the people that have come before him and the Brandos of the world and all that. But to that, he will probably get there. But as far as right now, is he one of the greats out there? Like if you told me,
well, if you were to ask me if he's one of the top, say, 15 working today, I'd say yes.
You say one
today,
of the, yes. If it's one of the greats of all time, that's a tough one.
That's how I took the question.
Yeah, see, I don't know. One of the greats of all time, then I might go on your side of things, or we don't know yet, but I agree with Dennis. Everything he's in, it's if I'm making a movie and you tell me I can have Bale in it doing anything, being a pizza man, please put him in there. He'll be the best pizza man you've ever seen. He's great. He's just one of those actors that he's classic trained actor that he's been around for a very long time. He didn't let the show. He could have went the direction of like a Corey Feldman. He's been around for so long, and he didn't because he's so dedicated. He's another guy, just like we said before with Hugh Jackman. Could have. Oh, that's Batman. Until he is Batman. It's not what you say about him. He goes out and he loses all that weight, wins an Oscar for The Fighter. You know,
if you were to ask me, would you put Christian Bale today in the top 15, 10, 5 of leading men today, of leading men working in the industry right now? Then I say yes.
That's where I took from the question.
Yeah.
So,
when you use a terminology for me, it depends on what it is he's asking. Yeah. I interpret it when you say the greats, then I'm thinking all time. Then I'm thinking you're putting him in with all those guys who, you know, you're having the arguments, could they be on that Mount Rushmore?
Right.
You're putting them in that conversation. And I'll still stand by the fact that even though I would say no right now, I think in 10 years, it's a different conversation. Because if he keeps, you mentioned his track record.
Yeah.
If he keeps consistent with that track record, then he's going to have to be in that conversation of the all-time greats.
Well, I mean, even Exodus. I know a lot of people didn't love the movie, but I actually enjoyed it more than
I thought
most.
he was quite good in it. I didn't think he was great in it, but I thought he was quite good in it.
I thought that the reason why I wasn't bored to tears is because I wanted to see what Bale was doing next. How was he going to do this? It's like, oh, wait, well, Moses wasn't white, and like, well, but Bale is. So I'm in it because it's Bale. He keeps you in there. There's just something about him. Is he has that it thing, and I still think he still gets a bad rap for. Oh, good for you. Like, he gets a bad rap for that, but
he loves working with lighting.
I will
lighting
say
guys.
though, that is the one performance of his I don't like. Terminator 7. No, I'm not talking about that.
Yeah, it's not just a bad movie. He was bad.
He was just shouting the whole time. But I mean, that's, you know, everyone has a rough day at the office.
Yeah, he talks about that too, about how it just he was off. He was off. The production itself was general, and like you said, everyone has a bad day at the office.
Yep. Yeah, and I was bored to tears with Exodus, even though I love Christian
Even him?
Bale. No, not him, but just the movie in general. I just fallen asleep.
All right, what's next?
At TechBay94 wants to know if you think there's any room to remake Mary Poppins. Always thought something closer to the book would be fun, Tim Burton style.
You lose me whenever you say Tim Burton style. Yeah, that's just me. Although, you know what's funny thing about Tim Burton? A little bit of a side note. Like most of my friends love Tim Burton. I do not. Yet, my friends who are big Tim Burton fans, they will pretty much universally say like his Charlie and the Chocolate Factory rendition. Oh, their least favorite. He really. I actually like his Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, which is kind of weird since I'm not the Tim Burton fan. Anyway, that being said, Mary Poppins, I am all for remakes. All the time. I have no problem with remakes because if you screw it up, I don't care. I got the original still on my shelf. Doesn't matter. Mary Poppins presents a really unique set of problems, though. Stylistically, it's not the kind of movie you make today. So whether it could actually be feasible as a box office success is a really big question mark. Secondly, who is today's Julie Andrews? Yeah. I mean, I don't. There has never
Lady
been.
Gaga, I guess now.
Well, I'm telling you, man.
After the Oscars, I'm not even kidding.
When they said she was coming, we were all together.
We were
watching
laughing. We're snickering.
Lady Gaga.
Lady Gaga's going to sing Julie Andrews, and then we were all like,
yeah, it's the best part of the Oscars.
Okay, I got to shut up now because she's awesome. She is the real deal. But even though she can sing like Julie Andrews, she's no Julie Andrews. Nobody is Julie Andrews. We've never had another Julie Andrews. And I'll go on, right? We'll never will. But so that becomes a problem. So you could find somebody that would do a great job. I'm saying it's a problem. It's not impossible. The other kind of problem that presents itself is that you would have a real backlash. Well, I am totally for remakes. I think you're going to have a real public backlash against the notion of a Mary Poppins remake. So, look, if they put out a Mary Poppins remake next week, I would be in line. I would go to see it, and I'd be really damn curious. But those are big hurdles to overcome. So I just don't know if I could see it happening, Dennis.
What if they go the opposite way? You know how they're all turning all their cartoons into
Britney
live
Spears?
action? No. They're
Okay.
turning all their cartoons to live action movies. What if they turn this live action movie into a CG animated movie?
Instead of cartoon penguins, they have like
Real life
Yeah,
penguins?
that'd be hilarious.
Yeah.
All right, what's next?
Chris Martin tweets, any chance any Phase 3 shows will be a daily show? I would love to see AMC Heroes as a daily show. Thanks.
Yeah, so we've launched Phase 3. For those who aren't aware, we launched a bunch of new shows. AMC Coming Soon is now up and running. We got AMC Jedi Council. We have AMC Heroes. We have AMCI, of course, is still up and running. Which AMC Phase 3 show am I missing?
AMC Dennis.
Rewind.
Coming soon?
AMC Dennis.
Said coming soon?
I said Coming Soon, but Rewind. AMC Rewind with Alicia Malone and John Schnepp. I love these shows. These are great. Doing those daily present a unique set of problems too, just like Mary Poppins. Coming Soon is clearly, it's built to be a weekly show because you're just talking about the movies coming out that week. So that's a weekly show. Rewind, also, that's a paced show. So that's weekly. Jedi Council, there's not enough material to truly sit down and talk for a half hour to an hour every day of new Star Wars. This just new Star Wars news just doesn't come out that fast. So it being a weekly wrap-up show is a much better thing for us. Same thing goes with Heroes. You'll have 1 or 2 issues of comic book movies come up a day. You can't do a 45-minute show based on what comes out every day about comic book movies. And while as much as we have some fans saying, I would watch it every day, You may say that now. You really wouldn't. When you after about 2 weeks and you realize there's nothing new to talk about every single day. Also, I would die. I think Dennis would literally die if we tried to do those shows. I mean, Mailbag is another show. We thought a long time ago about making Mailbag daily, but that was kind of before, that was when we had this idea or thought we were going to launch 1 or 2 weekly shows and not have like 5 weekly shows running. And now we will die if we do Mailbag daily. So those weekly shows going daily, I think it's no, that will probably never happen. Those will always be weekly shows. Mailbag, that is still on the table. That may become a daily show later this year or next year, but we're kind of evaluating our situation as we go.
But we have incorporated viewer questions in all of the weekly shows, so it's almost like mini Mailbag.
A mini Mailbag every day.
Well, I think Mary Poppins should be. Oh, sorry, I didn't get it.
All right, folks, that'll do it for us for this installment of AMC Movie Talk. Thank you so much for joining us. Listen, don't forget, lots of great movies playing at AMC theaters right now. Head on over to www.amctheaters.com for all of your theater, showtime, and of course, your movie ticket information. If you want an audio-only version of this episode, look in the description of this video and you'll find a link to our podcast feed so you can listen to us on the way to work or at the gym or wherever you happen to be at the time. I want to thank, first of all, the guy sitting at the table with me, sitting over here on my left, Mr. Dennis Zen. Dennis, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at ThinkHero or on Instagram, dennis.tzeng, or you can find me also kicking puppies.
Nice.
You know how many pictures I got sent to me of this big face of Dennis? I kick puppies. I kick puppies in the face. if you had to have seen Mailbag to know what we're talking about, but I got some really funny pictures from you guys. Sitting over here, of course, Mr. Christian Harloff. Christian, where can people find you?
On Twitter and Instagram at Christian Harloff. And thank you for everybody that's been watching Jedi Council, like John was talking about. Make sure you submit your questions. Hashtag AMC Jedi Council. We answer a bunch of questions that you submit every Thursday.
And, of course, our lovely host today, Miss Sinead DeFries. Sinead, where can people find you?
I'm on Twitter and Instagram at Sinead DeFries and at that'ssosinead.com.
And sleeping under her Poltergeist posters. All right, and you guys can just follow me on Facebook or on Twitter, just at John Campia. That'll do it for us, guys. My name's John Campia for AMC Movie News, and until next time, bye-bye.